does in her free time.
I think she likes to read books.
I think Mrs. Lively's favorite food is
Crab legs.
What do you think is Mrs. Lively's favorite book?
The boxcar children.
Interesting facts about Mrs. Lively.
Mrs. Lively was actually my third grade teacher when I was going to school here at Atkinson.
what do you appreciate about Mrs. Lively?
That she lets us skip templates sometimes.
What do you think Mrs. Lively's favorite food is?
Pizza.
Mrs. Lively.
I appreciate how kind she
What do you
is.
appreciate about Mrs. Lively?
I really love that Mrs. Lively is always very helpful and understanding when I ask her any questions, as well as she's helpful and understanding with all of our second grade kids.
What is Mrs. Lively's favorite thing to do in free time?
I think Mrs. Lively likes to spend time with her husband and her son.
Mrs. Lively's favorite book is?
The Boxcar Children.
Lively's biggest pet peeve.
Talking to me, I'm not supposed to.
What's Mrs. Lively's celebrity look-alike?
I think Miss Library's celebrity look-like is Chris Jenner.
Mrs. Lively does in her free time.
I think she likes to read.
Appreciate about Mrs. Lively.
That she's a good teacher.
Mrs. Lively does in her free time.
What's your favorite memory with Mrs. Lively?
My favorite memory with Mrs. Lively is when she was actually my third grade teacher, and she had this huge treehouse in her room that you could go sit and read a book.
Appreciate the most about Mrs. Lively.
I appreciate the fact that she's been here as long as I have, and she still keeps a smile on her face and seems to enjoy doing her job.
Yeah, most about Mrs. Lively.
I appreciate that she was very helpful and nice.
Mrs. Lively's favorite song is
Taylor Swift's dog.
Mrs. Lively's favorite thing to do in her free time is.
I think one of Mrs. Lively's favorite thing to do in her free time is to go antiquing.
Mrs. Lively's favorite book is?
Miss Library's favorite book is The Magic Tree House.
Mrs. Lively's favorite book is?
The Magic Tree House.
Mrs. Lively does in her free time.
Mrs. Lively hangs out with her two boys, or she attends Nebraska football games.
Any interesting facts about Mrs. Lively?
An interesting fact that I know about Mrs. Lively is that when she started here at West Holt, she actually was Miss Mabon.